All right, this is going to be how to talk to an introvert. I was talking to a friend of mine, a new friend of mine, and they said, "Well, I know you introverts. You like to stay in your house and hate people." And I'm like, "Oh no, you're thinking of an asshole. Introverts, you gonna eat that chicken there, baby? Okay. Introverts actually like people. Introverts actually like leaving their houses. Um, Here's where the people think introverts must hate people and hide in their houses, because a lot of times when introverts interact with people, they're fucking overwhelmed. Hold on a second. I met a guy, a friend of mine. I actually drove an hour to go see him on his lunchtime. There was something I needed to do in the town he was at, and I'm like, "Hey man, I need to go down there for an appointment. Why don't I meet you for lunch?" And I got in there and met him for lunch, and he talked for 60 minutes straight. And I counted later, he covered 9 different topics. So he just went from one topic to another, to another, to another. And you know what I said to him? I said, "Hey, how's it going? Let's get some sandwiches." And I said goodbye. He didn't even realize, I didn't even say, "Yeah, okay, really?" I was quiet for 60 straight minutes. And that's why they're like, "Oh, introverts hate people." It's like, no, you need to shut up so that we can talk. You need to take your 8 or 9 topics that you want to get covered in 60 minutes and pick 2 that are important to you. 2 that have meaning to you, or maybe 1 that has meaning for me and 1 that has meaning to you. I don't need to hear everything. I don't need to feel like I've shown up at a trivia night that it doesn't matter if anybody answers a question. All it matters is the questions keep coming. Really, what relates to me, what relates to you, what relates to ours, our interests, is what an introvert's going to be interested in. Unless I'm particularly interested in history or art or cars or something like that, talking to me about history, art, or cars is a waste of my time. Unless you think that, I think you would be interested in this, like sports. Every once in a while someone starts talking to me sports, and I'm like, you could just stop. You've got nothing to say about sports that I haven't heard before. I'm not interested in sports. If you want to talk about sports as a phenomenon, or sports is almost like a cult of mob, how people like to feel they belong to a team, or I'm a fan. We call ourselves the cheeseheads, or something like that. I'm like, we could talk about that, as that's interesting, but don't tell me that I should be a cheesehead, or don't talk to me about your cheesehead stuff, because to me that's just ridiculous. The whole idea that you connect with 100,000 people or more, you don't actually, as far as I could tell. Yeah, introverts are active, social, dynamic. In a group of 10 people, when one person says we should all do this, and 8 people say, "Yeah, that sounds like a great idea," I'll raise my hand and said, "But isn't that illegal? Or dangerous? Or costs more money than we have budgeted for?" I don't feel the need, an introvert doesn't feel the need to go along with people, which that's how we often stick out, as like a sore thumb or a wet blanket, because I don't feel the need to go, "Yeah, let's do it," and then figure out why we can't later. I'm like, I can figure out why we can't do that right now. That's how introverts are wired that way. So how to talk to an introvert? Just calm down. Calm down for one. Pretend we're going to know each other for the rest of our lives, and there's a possibility we might run out of things to say. So save some stuff, okay? Just get my bicycle right here, say "Hey man, have you got any bike rides lately?" And then if I start talking about a bike ride, I wanted to head somewhere new, and so what I started to do was I headed out here and I met these folks, and I said "Hey, you want to ride along together? It's safety in numbers." And then I started to talk about how us as a group decided to ride someplace that was new to all of us. But by now you've already started talking to me about how you once met a group traveling in Istanbul, and you guys couldn't find Constantinople, and wasn't that Constantinople in the works? That's nobody's business but the Turks. Istanbul. Yeah, no. You don't interrupt an introvert until they're done. Because you know what happens when you're talking, like my friend talking for 60 minutes, an introvert does this. They're giving you their full attention and they're thinking about what you're saying. That's why when you start talking about foosball or basketball or how long it takes paint to dry, that's why I'm like, why would you take my full attention and talk about drying paint? Because you're so used to, extroverts are so unused to anyone giving them their full attention. Just kind of like a cursory casual attention. Like an extrovert will walk into a room, say a bunch of shit, and walk right out the door. He doesn't need to know if anybody like said, yeah, man, or I agree with that, or I have a question. They just like, well, I went in there and told everybody, blah, blah, blah. And then they're all happy. Happy as a clam. Talk to 30 people. All at once. And the thing is, you're like, well, you're telling us how to talk to you. How about how you should talk to us? Maybe you should, be a part of the group and the 60 minutes of nonstop talking. No, we won't. We won't ever. Frankly, I could come up with some good reasons. It's a goddamn waste of time, for one. You talk about 8, 9 topics in an hour, and I guarantee you, this has been proven in college studies. I guarantee you, the vast majority of everybody you talk to only absorbs a small percentage of all that, of a little bit of that 8 and 9 topics you brought up. You could bring up one topic, talk about it for an hour, back and forth it, listen to input, and you're going to have a way higher percentage of retention. And why else are we talking if it isn't to convey information? Because frankly, if you're just talking to hear yourself make noise, I'm not necessary. I'm not needed in that scenario. And fuck you, too. Fucking motor mouths. Just like a quiet person in the land of people who can't shut up.